Losing weight isn't easy, and some days we can feel like we need some extra help. Welcome to the Weight Loss Warrior podcast, the show where we share inspiring real-life success stories from normal, everyday people like you and I. Listen to how each of our guests managed to overcome their personal challenges to lose the weight they wanted, as they talk about the secrets to their success and give great advice that you can benefit from. Become part of our tribe and use the Weight Loss Warrior podcast as your source of motivation and support to help you on your weight loss transformation. And now, your host and friend, Carl Radley.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Weight Loss Warrior podcast. I am Carl, your host, and today I have a familiar face joining me, not just because he's all over Instagram and very popular and helpful guy, but because he was actually episode number 2 of the Weight Loss Warrior podcast. It's Steve from Birmingham. Steve, how are you doing, mate?
Carl, really good, thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah, it seems a lifetime ago that we did episode 2, doesn't it?
It literally is the lifetime of Weight Loss Warriors ago, because you were episode number 2, and it was, the first guy on the show right at the very beginning when I had absolutely no credibility, nothing to show for it, and you kind of took a bit of a punt on me and said, you know what, let's go for it. And I've been grateful for that, to be honest with you, ever since. And the fact that you're coming back today just shows it wasn't a complete horrible experience for you, and unless you come on to actually tear me a new one or something on this episode.
But that was the idea to start off with. It's like, it's gone downhill since episode 2, I think.
Oh, mate, it's really good to have you on the show. And the thing I like about, the plan for tonight and what we said we're going to talk about is really because since speaking last year, I've become aware, obviously, of how much you've got going, just life in general that happens. But it gave me a thought of, how much everybody else's life, myself included, continues to go on day by day. And like when we spoke, there was a snapshot of your life in that exact moment, the journey you'd been on. And I'll go through your journey just for anyone who hasn't listened to your episode. But then obviously everything that's happened in the last year. And I think that some of it's very important to discuss in relation to your journey. Some of it important for other reasons. So before we get into that though, Steve, do you want to just introduce yourself again? And then I'll go through some of your backstory, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Steve. I started losing weight probably 9 years ago. That's probably when I first started to realise that I needed to do something, and that was through a heart scare in terms of kind of why I started in the first place. I was at work and basically I was getting chest pains all throughout the day, but nothing kind of prepared me for what was to come later. And when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It kind of took me to the floor, and I was just in a world of pain and confusion and didn't know what was going on. And I got taken down to my office, and I was sat there. The ambulance came out, and it was quite embarrassing to in a certain aspect, because I was sat there in my office. I was the manager of the site. I had my shirt open. I had all these things attached to me while I was doing ECG readings and all that kind of stuff. And I had staff members coming in, and it was just quite an embarrassing moment, really, to be vulnerable like that in front of them. But with the ECG, they put that on, and within probably 5 minutes, I was like, right, we're going to hospital, because the ECG was spiking all over the place. Got to hospital, and literally within an hour of being there, everything just went back to normal, as if nothing had ever happened before. They kept me in overnight and seen the specialist the following day, and he just said to me, you need to do something. You need to change your life. You need to do all these, new things, changes, whatever you're going to do to lose weight. And that's kind of walked out the office, and that was what I went on to do. I always remember the specialist saying to me, the very last words he said to me was, Steve, I hope I never see you again. And that was kind of a light bulb moment to say, okay, I need to try and do something. And then went off and tried to find a way of losing weight, and I did. So
I'd say you did. You were pretty successful at that, because you went on to lose 13 stone, didn't you, with Slimming World? And as part of that journey, and I was listening back the other day through your episode, actually, just because I didn't want to forget something important or make you think, but I didn't care. But one of the things that struck me about this in your journey is, like you said, you you hadn't really suffered from being overweight up until that point. And we spoke about it on the episode that we recorded in that you were leading a happy life. You'd climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. You were enjoying life, but perhaps it was the fact that you were enjoying life to those extremes of eating and drinking without too much consideration for your health, that you actually found yourself in that situation, which triggered your health kick and journey. So one of the main parts, I think, of your journey is the fact that you've gone on to become a Slimming World consultant and now help literally hundreds, if not thousands of people to lose weight themselves and change their own lives in the same way that you did yours. And as I alluded to at the beginning of the episode, you know, life continues and goes on, and it's not a constant. There are struggles, there are challenges that we face. And I think today it'd be great with some insight to your life and what's been going on, especially in the last few months, to talk about some of those challenges and perhaps even relate that to how mindset and mental health plays such a big factor in not just a weight loss journey, but just in life in general. Because I remember when we finished speaking at the end of our last episode, you'd said, you know, there's more to it than just the pure weight loss. And that kind of stayed with me. And I was very, very green in the weight loss warrior world back then when we spoke. But that comment's always stayed with me because it's just been validated more and more by people I speak to who go on to say, you know, how much of a mindset thing it is. And the process of losing weight is simple, but it's what's going on up here in your mind that is the real challenge and the thing that has to be overcome. So I guess quite an open question. How have things been since we last spoke?
I'd say it's been like being on a roller coaster, to be honest. It's been up, it's been down, it's been in the middle, it's been all over the place. It's been a challenging year, but a rewarding year at the same time. Lots and lots of things going on. Some, as I said, really, really good. Some not so good. And that's had an effect mentally in terms of me looking after myself, in terms of how I'd kind of progressed from just the weight loss to kind of using exercise, using movement, whatever it was to, you know, to keep where I am and a maintenance level. And that's been hard. You know, it's been tough, but you know, you fight through it still and try and get to where you want to be. You know, it's a tough challenge.
And you're certainly a fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll try. You know, so but yeah, like I said, it is a constant battle since day one. You know, it's been tough. You know, to lose the weight first of all. I mean, in terms of like I said, just touch on the exercise thing. I didn't do any exercise or anything like that for probably the first 2 or 3 years of trying to lose weight. You know, it was more a case of looking at what I was eating, and I was getting results from that. And then it was a progression on from that of, okay, what can I do extra now? And that was when I kind of turned to different ways of exercising.
Of course. And I mean, your running career is something that is extremely inspiring, really, because, you know, you run distances, you run marathons, and I know you've completed at least one marathon, I think, since we've spoken. You did that. Was that London Marathon you did?
Yeah, it was London. Yeah, back in April.
Amazing. And plus many other races that I've seen you doing, some with Slimming World people, some on your own, but very active. And I think, you know, to dedicate so much of your time to running as you do, and also share that on your Instagram is really inspiring for a lot of people. But you mentioned as well that it hasn't been an easy year for certain things. And obviously, having spoke to you before hitting record, with your full permission to talk about this, I'd like to talk about some of those more difficult moments for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably having cancer is probably quite a big one to start with, but probably one of the biggest things that's happened in your life in the last year. So can you tell us about what happened there?
Yeah. So I'll go back prior to that, if that's okay. So as I said about the ups and downs.
Sorry, I just dove straight into that one.
Straight in for the good stuff.
No foreplay or anything. Sorry, Steve. No, I'll tell you what. This is your journey. You tell it how you want. Obviously, that's part of it, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But where would you like to start then in terms of the ups and downs?
So let's look at the ups first, about kind of the year that I had leading up to kind of where we're at now.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I suppose looking at going back to last summer, I decided then that, you know what, I'm going to do London Marathon again, which would be my second time of doing it. So then it was kind of, you know what, training mode, training head on, let's go and get ready for a marathon. Obviously I've done it before, so I've got training programs and all that kind of stuff in place, and it was all good. So fast forward then to April, did all my training, got down to London, had a great time kind of over the weekend. During the run of actually doing the marathon, about 10 kilometers to go, somebody kind of wiped me out, which was great news. So they wanted to go to a water station, so they cut right across me to get to this water station, but then landed on my ankle, as it were. So it took me down to the floor. They didn't even stop, just carried on going. So that was a bit of a nightmare, because I was on for the time that I wanted. I was setting I had a plan of action of a time that I wanted to get, and that kind of took that out of it. But then it was just a case of persevering through the last 10 kilometers to complete the race. So then
that's really unlucky, and
yeah,
frustrating as well, I imagine. You didn't get their number, their bib number or anything?
No. All I wanted to know, I just wanted to punch somebody in the face as soon as it happened, but they'd long gone, so which was a shame. But yeah, anyway, so got injured during London Marathon, finished it, great stuff. I still got a fantastic time, still got a personal best time, even though that had happened. And then, but obviously I was injured, so couldn't run afterwards. So I had set off for about probably 4 or 5 weeks where I didn't actually do any running because of my ankle, which was tough in itself. Again, that mental side of things, and probably the reason why I started running in the first place was to help cope with life, with external factors that were going on, and that's the reason I took it up, and one that I've kind of continued doing. You know, that running is my outlet to, you know, if I'm annoyed, if I'm stressed, angry, had a bad day at work, whatever, you know what, I put my runners on and I go for a run, because it just escapism for half an hour is just, you know, brilliant. It just kind of sets you back up, and then you're like breathing again, great, you know. And that, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here in terms of timeline, but going back,
no, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, so going back to previously when I started running, it was through, I was having counselling at the time, which I advocate to anybody. You know, if you're suffering, struggling, and you can't do it yourself, get some help. You know, and I had some CBT counselling, which was great, just to kind of help to deal with life, things that occurred. You know, how I'm going to get over that. And running was one of the things that came out of that. So then fast forward back to being injured again afterwards. So again, the mental side of things, not being able to run, it was an outlet that I hadn't got anymore. So
it's almost like one of your coping mechanisms have been taken away from you.
Massively so, which was very, very frustrating. And then obviously, you know, that emotional side kicks in again. So it's like, you know, I'll have a little bit extra of, you know, binge on chocolate, or, you know, or takeaways, or whatever it might be. Just a continual lack of not looking after yourself for a fair bit. But then obviously,
can I ask you a question on that, Steve?
Yeah, please do.
So, because obviously you're so used to being running, active, did you at any point think, okay, I've got this like window now where I can't run, so this is my opportunity to perhaps eat a bit more rubbish, or, you know, not take care of yourself, but the two could kind of be almost go side by side, that, you know, I can't work on my health in a positive direction, so why not work on it in a negative direction at the same time until I can start running again?
Yeah, I think that plays a massive part in kind of what you're going through with your mindset, I suppose, because obviously that outlet of running that I had was my fallback with everything. If I ran and I made sure I was running on a regular basis, my food was good, so it had a knock-on effect. You know, brilliant. You know, work hand in hand. And as I said before, running and exercise has never been a weight loss tool for me. It's been more mental. Because when I know that I've got that to hand, I know that my food and everything else is going to be good 99% of the time. So not having that, it was a case of, you know what, fall back into old habits, fall back into old ways, just because I hadn't got that mental capacity to, you know, to that outlet that I needed to go and do. So that was,
Of course.
yeah, it was a tough moment. So that was those kind of 6 weeks, but then got back into it, and it was literally like I suppose like a light switch again. You know, you turn the light back on, you run in, food's better all of a sudden. You know, the weight that you've gained is coming off, and so it's like very up and down, like I said at the start. So yeah, and then fast forward to kind of May time, and I noticed at the end of May that I had like a little blemish on my arm. And it just looked like I'd knocked myself and I'd got a scab that had formed or something like that. You know, it wasn't anything dramatic. I think they measured it, and it was like 4 millimeters in diameter. So obviously very, very tiny. So I thought it was a scab, like I said. Ignored it for a bit. Me and Charlie was on holiday. We'd been over to Iceland at the time. And I had a consultation with my doctor while I was actually on holiday, as we was walking along the front in Iceland, and said, okay, we'll get you in for a review. Just have a look, kind of what's going on. Literally got back, landed in England. It was the following day I had my appointment, went in and said, okay, we'll get you a 2-week referral, which was okay. Things are happening quite quick here. Well, you know, obviously you think it's something that I don't. Got this referral to the dermatology unit at my local hospital. Went down there, they did some special photographs of the area, said we'll be in touch within 2 to 3 weeks and we'll let you know what's gone on, and then your next process there. Literally 3 days later, I had a phone call, we need you to come to hospital. I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty quick. That wasn't 2 to 3 weeks of kind of contemplating what's going on. Got an appointment at the hospital. They did a full check over and said they wanted to do a skin removal. So they wanted to take out kind of a lump around the area that was affected, and then check it, see if it was cancerous, see if it wasn't, you know, and then we'll progress from there. Again, 2 to 3 weeks, up to 4 weeks for your results to come back, and we'll give you a shout. Literally again, 4 days I think it was afterwards. We need you to come in. We need to have a consultation with you. So that was all this time. It was kind of, you know, you obviously I said to you earlier on, you know, if you're going to get a form of cancer, you know, it's kind of that's the one you want to have. You know, it's because it can be rectified. You can do things with it. You know, you can make sure it's gone if it hasn't spread and all that kind of stuff. So in my head, I was trying to think of the positives behind it. You know, if it is, you know, a positive cancer diagnosis, then we can move on. We can do things about it, and we can make change and all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. But it was taken over my head. I was kind of in this battle again. You know, is it cancer? Is it not cancer? You know, am I going to die? Am I going to kind of, you know, what's going to happen to the people I'm leaving behind? You know, how my kid's going to be? All these emotions and thoughts go through your head. You know, even though you know that it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, but of course, you're kind of being tested here, aren't you?
Yeah.
On something, but it's completely new territory if it's the first time you've had a serious illness or anything like this, or cancer in itself. So at this point, you still didn't know if it was cancerous or not, but you'd gone through the process of then wanting to remove the area, some skin removal, send it away for testing. So how long was, on the terms of a timeline, how long are we now from when you actually had your consultation when you were on holiday to
Yeah, so from the holiday, which was the end of May, that took us to the beginning of July. So that's kind of, you know, a 4-week period from the 2-week referral to getting photographed, to get into the hospital, to having it removed. So yeah, beginning of July was when it kind of happened, which was coincidentally just before my birthday as well, which kind of sucked, but it was absolutely fine.
Yeah, of course.
So that went off for testing, came back, and obviously got called back into the hospital. Spoke to my consultant. He's just absolutely fantastic, and she explained absolutely everything that was going on. Turned out it was cancerous. Turned out that it was found very, very early, which, you know, I thank God for, I suppose. You know, even though I don't have those belief systems, you know, I thank a higher power, I suppose, that I seen this on my arm and I kind of did something about it, rather than just going, it's nothing. You know, it's just a kind of whatever. So it was caught early. It was a stage 1, and they could do something about it. So the next stage was more skin removal. So before, it was kind of a 4 to 5 centimeter removal around the area, and then the next removal was a bigger kind of piece that was taken. It was more about a 4-inch skin removal that they took away.
Okay. So in precautionary measures, when they don't know yet if it's cancer or not, they'll take a certain area, but once it's confirmed that it is cancer, they will then want to remove more just because of the chance in case it has spread. They want to get rid of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So they took that away, and that's to, like you said, to check whether it has spread beyond the kind of surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
So they took that away, and still I'm waiting for my results now. So that brings us up to the present day and where we're at with everything. So in my head, it's been over 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks since I had it done. So it's a case of, you know what, if it was something really bad, they would have called me in like they did previously. So I'm taking that as my positive to try and think positive that it's come back this time, that it hasn't spread and that it's all clear. But again, during this skin removal time, I've not been able to. They've told me I'm not allowed to exercise, be able to run, be able to do anything kind of physical for a certain length of time. So it's only been kind of the last 2 weeks I've got back into running. So so in the last 3 or 4 months, I've kind of had a good 3 months of it where I haven't done anything, which is
no, of course. And honestly, it made me very, very happy to see you back out for a run, despite you not being particularly happy with, you know, your level of fitness. But I mean, you got to be a bit easier on yourself, I think, Steve, because honestly, it's just good to see you out there. And again, because one of the things I'd mentioned on the previous episode, but I absolutely loved was, like, you know, your daily running stories where you've just finished a run, you're all hot and sweaty, pretty minging, but you talk about your day and stuff. And that's something that I'm sure that thousands of people who follow you enjoy as well. And so to be able to see that and see you back with your runners on, doing, you know, a 5K, going out for a run was very nice. And obviously, it goes without saying, I'm really sorry that you've had to go through that and are still going through it at some level, because even once, I guess, you have the all clear, the mental health side of things, how that's affected you, could still take some time for you to get fully back to normal. And not only that, obviously, I can imagine for your family, for Charlie, for your boys, it's not been a nice time for anybody. So, you know, I'm glad that you are nearly at the end of that, and it sounds like everything's going in the right direction in terms of getting the all clear, and it can be a chapter closed on your life, you know. But in terms of linking that to your mental health, not just because of the fact you couldn't run, but with your diet, with everything else, I guess, just without getting too morbid, but just mortality in general, just the fact that, you know, you've had a health scare that triggered your journey to lose weight, and you've found yourself here with another quite big health scare, not necessarily linked to the fact of weight, of course, but something that's for you probably quite, on a mental level, quite hard to deal with. So how has that been for you?
I think coping wise, it's been in myself. I'm the world's biggest critic of myself. You know, if something's not to the level it was at, then I'm hard on myself. So with weight loss, you know, if I'm not kind of getting the results that I know that I can get, I'm hard on myself. Like you said, being back to running, but not getting the times that I was doing before, the fitness isn't there. I'm hard on myself there. So again, it's that constant battle that I was talking about earlier on. But having that support network around me this time, which I didn't have previously, is such a massive help in terms of you know, keeping to where I'm at, you know, and not going completely out of control. Like I said, 3 months out of the last 4 months, I've had no control in terms of the exercise that I'm used to doing, which helps me to kind of to make better choices in terms of food. But like I said, having the support network around me has been invaluable in terms of being accountable for what I've been doing, you know. And don't get me wrong, I haven't been a saint by any means, you know. During the last kind of few months, I've been awful some weeks where it's been really bad, but then it's been a case of, okay, I've got this, I'm accountable for it, let's kind of do better this week. So even though, you know, I'm still trying to lose the weight at the moment, in terms of getting to a target that I want to achieve in my head mentally, again, you know, setting this challenge for myself. I'm not going down, but I'm not going up eitherwards.
No.
That's not a word, but you know what I mean.
That must be a Birmingham word.
It probably is.
You know, where is it? Ivorwoods.
Ivorwoods. Yeah.
But I would Yeah, like you said, you're your own worst critic. 'Cause I'm sure for anyone who's listening to that, they'd be like, "Bloody hell, Steve, give yourself a break, mate," because you've had cancer, you've not been able to run, so you effectively your coping mechanism probably at the time where you would have potentially needed it the most to keep yourself balanced, keep yourself able to go out and deal with the feelings of anger and the why me and everything that's going on in your life. And because of that very thing, you can't go out for a run. So there must be that level of frustration there. But then physically going on the runs and being as active as you were, despite not doing it for weight loss specifically, that's a lot of extra calories that you're not burning on a weekly basis. So even if you kept your normal diet and didn't change anything there, you'd still be burning a lot less calories. So you could see yourself gaining weight from that. But then on top of all of that, if it wasn't enough, there's probably been days where you thought, I'd caring about my diet or what I put in my mouth is probably the last thing on my mind right now. And quite rightly so. I think, you have to give yourself a break for that. But so it's kind of like the perfect storm for your journey to kind of fall off the tracks a little bit, and quite understandably so. And so I guess you mentioned earlier, light switch. And before, when you'd struggled, that you got back into your running and the light switch came back on. And I would imagine that's what's going to happen once you get the all clear and you're back into your running full time.
Yeah, I mean, I've always this sounds really corny and cringy the way I kind of use this analogy in terms of weight loss and all that kind of stuff, but it's something that I've used personally myself all the way along, and what I try to instill in the members that come to my group. So it's looking at weight loss and the journey that you're on as more of a dimmer switch than an actual light switch. So there's got to be moments where it's turned right down, but it's not off. You're still kind of you're still trying to do things, but it's not all the way off. And then at some point you can just start, turn it up a little bit. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being 100% of the time. It's about just making small changes, small, realistic, achievable goals. And that's kind of how I've dealt with things. And over the last few months, I've really had to rely on that thing. I'm not going to turn it all the way off, because I know that I could easily go back to nearly 27 stone. But I'm not going to, because I don't want to be there. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to, feel good in myself, and all that kind of good stuff. And that's something that's taken a long time to develop, that almost that balancing act that you've got, to not go back to the old ways. So that dimmer switch is a really kind of important one for me to deal with.
I really like that. I don't think it's corny at all, because I think so many people view their weight loss journeys or their objectives of transforming themselves mentally or physically as such a black and white, on or off, succeed or fail mentality of, if it's you have one day off and it's all gone completely wrong. Whereas having that dimmer switch, like you say, is about being consistent and looking for progress, not necessarily perfection, and maintaining something. And like you said, even if it's only like a 1 out of 10 in terms of effort on a day, at least making sure every single day, at least it's at least a 1, and then aim for a 2, but never let it get to a 0. And I think it's really strong and powerful to be able to do that. And I think it says a lot about the kind of person you are. And the other thing as well, I wanted to share, and we spoke about it briefly before hitting record, was the fact that you very selflessly used your own experience of getting skin cancer, even at a time where you're feeling pretty rubbish about everything, to actually help other people. Tell me about that, Steve, because I think it's absolutely incredible.
So leading up to kind of the second skin removal, I kept it really quiet in terms of who knew, and posting stuff on Instagram and just putting it out there. More I suppose, because I didn't want to not look weak, but kind of look at this, he's posting this for attention, he's doing this, that's let's give him sympathy, our violins out and all that kind of stuff. And again, that was my thought process of why I didn't actually say anything at the time. But then I was sat there the one day and I thought, you know what? I found it early, and that's why it was kind of treated early and good, and they got rid of it, or fingers crossed they've got rid of it, and took that removal away. And that's when I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a series of stories. I'm not going to post it on the grid or anything like that. I'm just going to do a series of stories about my experience, about what I found, about the process of what happened next, where I'm at now, show pictures of, you know, of what it was prior, and then show pictures of the actual, you know, 4 or 5 inch scar that I've got now from where they did the second removal, and just did the whole story and talking about put some links on to kind of Cancer Research UK, explaining about skin cancers and about what to look for, about the different colours, about the, you know, they might feel different, they might be a different colour, they might have grown, they might have changed shape, you know, all these different things. It's not just about, you know, oh, look at it, it's got massive, it's changed. It doesn't have to. It can be the minutest little change, and if you spot that, that's when you need to get it checked. Even if you think it's nothing, it's just so important to get it checked, you know. And that's why I posted it on the stories, just to, you know, if I could help one person, you know, by going to get something checked, then, you know, I've done everything that I wanted to do, you know, rather than kind of not doing anything at all.
Of course, but it hasn't just helped one person, has it? And I know, again, you're not someone who, and I completely understand why. First of all, it's personal, you know, going through something like this, it is personal, and you're certainly not anyone who's ever struck me as doing things for attention. All the opposite, probably. You're, you know, more of an unsung hero than somebody who goes out shouting it from the rooftops. But I do want you to tell everyone who's listening what you told me about, you know, people getting in touch with you and the impact that's had.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of messages that I've had from people, they were, you know, asking me questions about, you know, what did yours look like? Can you send me another picture of it? Because I think mine's changed. And do you think I should go and get checked for this? You know, as if I was a doctor. You know, I was like, just go and get checked. You know, don't kind of ask me my opinion. Go and get checked. So I think I had about 20, 25 people that contacted me after the stories, just to say, you know what, I think I might go and get it checked because of this, that, or the other. It's changed shape, colour, whatever. And then out of that, there was probably 4 or 5 people that came back and said, actually, they found that it was a cancerous, you know, mole that had happened. And they were then going through the process of what I'd actually just been through, about having it removed and all that kind of stuff, about all the challenges that came along with it. But at the same time, really, really happy that kind of that I had shared it, you know, so they had found it early. The fact that, you know, they were early stages and they got the help they needed. So without looking back,
mate.
Yeah, without posting those on the story, then I think, you know, they wouldn't have maybe looked at it, wouldn't have gone checked. I mean, there's a couple that, you know, even asked the partners to have a look at the back and have a look at, you know, areas that they couldn't actually see, just in case there was something, you know. So yes, that was really good in a way to kind of to share it and see people, you know, get the help and go and get sorted.
Fair play to you, mate, because really, you know, you've really, really helped people genuinely there, and you don't know to what extent you've actually helped them, because without that awareness, without knowing that they had something or even just what to look for, you don't know for how long that would have continued before they actually realized and the impact that could have had. So, you know, I don't think it's even dramatic to say that you could have saved someone's life, because that could literally be it. And I think that's incredible. And just the fact as well that bringing awareness to this, I think it's so important. And I remember I even, you know, I was one of the people, I messaged you and said, you know, what was it like? Because I'm covered in freckles and a few moles, and, you know, it's part of being ginger, I think. But as part of that, I got my wife to have a look, just check my back, have a look, especially in summertime in Spain, because, you know, it's a lot of heat. So I'm always very careful and slopping on the old factor 50 and making sure I protect myself as much as possible. But even still, having someone, you know, close to me who I can see and is talking about that experience, it kind of just made me think twice and maybe do a double check. And I think there's, you know, like I said, thousands of people who would have done that, who follow you on Instagram, and you've helped just to bring awareness to that situation. So even in these dark moments, you're still going out of your way to help people, Steve. So, you know, well done, mate. And I just hope you get that all clear very soon, just so you can, like I said, move on from it and get it done. I'm sure it'll be the next couple of days, probably even before this has been released, and we're going to have to do the whole thing again. But I mean, that's obviously, and like you said, I jumped straight in there at the beginning of the episode talking about that, because I think it was one of the the big things, but there's also been some really bloody good stuff going on in your life as well in the last year. I remember a few months ago seeing a post saying she said yes, and congratulations on your engagement.
I'm still baffled by the fact that she actually did say yes, to be honest with you. So,
are you sure she heard the question right?
I don't know. I think she's just in the ring. I thought, yeah, I'll have it. So it was.
No, but really, mate, I'm made up for you. And I've
you.
never actually spoken to Charlie or met Charlie, but and she'll probably absolutely hate me now for saying this, but it appears to me like you've found the female you, in terms of someone who's just a lovely person, and she just seems to radiate this spirit about her in the photos that you share and the things you do. And she's happy to do videos in the gym together, and you're always having a laugh, you're always laughing, you're always smiling together, and I just think it's beautiful. So you can see it's a really pure kind of love, and I'm very happy for you. I really am. And
Thanks,
so tell us about that.
Really appreciate that. It's it was just, I think, like you say, she is, or I am, we are the equivalent of each other, in terms of just how we look at
poor girl
life. It's such a shame. But I think, from going back over the past, we've both had shit times, previously, and I think we've both got to a point in our lives where it's like, you know what, let's not take any shit anymore. Let's just be happy and be, marvelously happy, and be weird and be strange and just do crazy, stupid things, and it's fun. It's such a fun relationship to be in. And like I said, I spoke earlier on about that support network. She's been absolutely 100% by my side every step of the way, and even, to the point of going to have a checkup at the hospital, that takes 10-15 minutes. She's there, she's booking time off work because she wants to be there. And she's just a fabulous person. So
oh mate, so wedding will be coming up soon, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully. So we found venue, we found all the stuff, so everything's in place. We've just got to kind of finalize everything now and kind of get it,
amazing,
the final date set in. And
it's great news. And I think after everything you've been through, all the downsides of everything, this would be a great way to celebrate and look forward and start that new chapter together as well. So
absolutely,
that's absolutely amazing. And the other thing I wanted to touch on as well, I'm sure there's probably other great things have happened as well, but that was obviously the big one that jumped out in my mind. But you mentioned before a roller coaster, Steve, in terms of the ups and the downs. And if we look specifically at your weight loss journey, because as I said at the beginning, because it is not linear, because there are challenges and things happening all the time in our lives that impact us, and it doesn't always have to be bad things either. It can be good things like holidays, things like Christmas, but it can obviously impact your ability to maintain a status quo in terms of your weight. But from following you myself, I've seen, there's been swings, there's been some weeks where you've gained weight, there's been some where you've lost weight. And I remember as well, I'm trying to think when it was you actually reached your target. Was it, I want to say, end of last year?
Yeah, back end of last year, yeah.
Okay, so and you reached that. And I remember in your most recent post saying that you dipped into a new stone number and you wasn't very happy about that. But if you zoom out and really look at it, how much weight you've lost, it's really only a few pounds away from being at target again.
Yeah.
It's really not a large amount, but I can understand why it would feel like a mountain at times when everything else is going on. But what is your plan in terms of getting back on track with that? And obviously the fact that I know that it's something that's important to you because of the fact you've mentioned it in your Instagram posts.
I mean, going back to kind of when I first started trying to lose weight and stuff, I had a target in mind of where I wanted to get to, and I'd get to a target. And this is what I mean about kind of when I touched on that I'm a little bit weird and a bit strange in terms of kind of how I look at things. I hate being at target, and as a Slim World consultant, that's a really hard thing to say. I hate being a target member when you're trying to get all these people that come to your group to get to target. So I got my target last year, back end of last year, and I'm still within that target range that I achieved last year. But what I did was, because I hated being at target, I lowered my target lower. So
Okay.
I'm still within that target that I achieved last year, but
Hmm.
it's not moved. So I am the perfect target member this year, I've got to say, because it hasn't moved. So I've kept that maintenance, but
Amazing.
I've got that number in mind that I want to achieve and get down to, not necessarily to stay there, but to achieve that number, I suppose.
Hmm.
I think just to prove to myself, to see that specific number, at the start of my weight would be just unbelievable, and ridiculous. And it's only kind of £10 away, but
Hmm.
it's still, it's just something that I want to achieve. And I think during the 8 or 9 years that I've been a Slim World member, I think I must have had about 9 or 10 different targets that
Okay.
I've hit along the way. So I'll hit target, keep it going for a few months, then go, oh, you know what, let's lose a bit more. And then I'll lose weight again. And then I'll get to that target and then lose again. In a way, it's worked well. So it's like having kind of interim targets along the way. It's like,
Yeah.
but even though in my head it's set as a final target, but then, let's move it again. Let's go even further. And that's what's kind of kept me going. I got to a point when I got to my target. I think I was at just over 10 stone loss. And that's when I became a consultant. And I was like, check me out. I've lost 10 stone. This is brilliant. I
Yeah.
couldn't ever expect to have lost that when I first started. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm never going over a certain level ever again. I'm never going to go over a certain level again. And then you set yourself a new target, and then that level where you're never going to go over drops as well at the same time. So whereas at that 10 stone loss, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm never going to, but then it drops again. I'm never going to go back at under 13 stone. I'm never going to see that 12 stone loss again. It never. And that's what it's such a up and down journey,
Of course.
experience, whatever you want,
But something you've just said there, and I've since doing our episode have had the luck to speak to so many people now, some of which have lost weight through Slimming World, some of which who haven't, and heard very different opinions about different weight loss methods, not just Slimming World. And one of the things that I think is quite apparent is that it's, from a headspace point of view, it's easier to have an objective of losing weight because you're always going in a certain direction than just to maintain. Because, and you said it yourself just now, I think that as a consultant, your goal is to help people to reach a target, but really I don't necessarily see it as hitting a target. Your goal is to help people lose weight. And that in itself, I think for people who have that objective of wanting to lose weight each week, whether it looks like a pound of weight loss, 2 pounds, 5 pounds that you lose weight, you're always moving in the direction of, I want to lose weight. But then I think the goalposts completely move when you hit that target and all of a sudden you're maintaining, because you kind of effectively take that objective out of the way. And it's actually difficult because it can go one of two directions, but to actually stay at exactly the same weight is quite tricky, I think. And so then people who will fluctuate and go up a couple of pounds may feel bad about that, and this could trigger the feeling of then losing those losses and gaining weight, or then feeling the need, like you said, to continue losing weight just so you have that thing to work towards. And how do you manage that with your group, for people who are at target, for people who are trying to maintain, and also for yourself?
So I think for what I developed early on and got an understanding about being a consultant, because obviously prior to being a consultant, I'd been a member for 4 years, so it was a case of, okay, now I've got to look at things in a completely different way, different light to how I've looked at them before. It's not just about me now. It's about, I'm responsible for all these people that are coming through my doors each week that trust me to help them to lose weight. So I developed this way of kind of looking at their journey as a whole, rather than I've got to lose, and then I maintain, and that's it. Like I said, it's very, you look at it as a very linear line that's the progress that people make. It's not realistic in terms of what actually happens. So what I try to do is develop skills and techniques and stuff like that will eventually keep them at target. So along the way, they'll develop all these skills and these things that they've put into place along their journey of losing weight. So they'll achieve target, and then they'll know then, like I just said, about that up and down thing, about that having that balance of life. You said earlier on about, you have all these things that happen through the year, Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, all these things where you're not necessarily going to be aiming to lose weight. You're there to enjoy life. And that's a big thing that I try and instill in all of the members that come through my group is, you've got to have a life as well as trying to lose weight.
Of course.
Again, it's not about being perfect. It's about doing what you can when you can, and having that mindset along the journey. When they get to target, that's what's going to keep them there, because they've developed the skills already on the way down. And having that mindset is really important to develop along the way. It's not just about the losing weight. Now you're at target. Okay, you don't have to lose anymore, because that's such a and I'm not going to swear, but it messes your mind up. Because you've got a consultant that's saying, you got to lose weight, you got to lose weight, you got to lose weight, you got to lose weight. You get to target, don't have to lose weight anymore. Okay, what do I do then?
No man's land.
Yeah, so
exactly.
we've got these things that we put into place, and we teach when they do get to target about, okay, this is how you maintain. But they're still in that mindset of wanting to lose weight. They're not, because they haven't developed the skills to actually maintain. So,
of course,
for me personally, it's really important from day one that we get that in place, ready for when they do the target. So that's kind of that's my method of being a consultant. So that's kind of where I'm
I think it's fantastic. And this is something that I'd said before, and I was actually quite, on reflection, happy with myself for having spoken to so many people to actually realize this. But previously I would have said that maintaining a balance for me would be about staying exactly in one place, not going either side of a target weight. But in fact, it's not. It's about being able to go one side of that. And then, if you go overweight due to holidays or something like that, being okay with it, but then knowing and having the tools to bring it back again. And that for me is a balance. It shouldn't be one specific point, but it's a range. And staying within that range and being in control of that and confident that you are in control of that, I think is so important. So thank you for sharing that, Stephen, and everything you have shared with us today. Did we miss anything? Is there anything else you want to cover on today's episode?
I think we should talk about something that's going on next year, if that's all right.
What is happening next year, Steve? You tell me.
It's funny you should say that. So back in 2018, I think it was, I started doing something for charity each year, using the platform of Instagram to raise money for charities. So the very first year that we did it, we went and climbed Snowdon. It was an Instagram challenge, so asked anybody wanting to come and join. You know what? Let's raise a bit of money. I think there was 6 of us that did it the first year that we went up there. Raised about 500 quid, which was great. Brilliant experience. So it was like, following year came, let's do it all again. The same thing. Let's go and climb Snowdon. So you've got to think though, with the community that we've got on Instagram, still Weight Watchers, calorie counting, keto, whatever way they're losing weight. So these people have been at a bigger size, that climbing Snowdon is just something mythical that they could never possibly have wanted to achieve previously, because they couldn't.
Of course.
So challenging somebody that's been heavier to do something out of the comfort zone was just so great. So Snowdon was the perfect opportunity, because it's achievable, but it's still bloody tough to get up there,
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's a mountain. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so that was 2000. Then 2019 came, opened it up again. So we got in, and I think we got about 40 people that year that joined in. Again, raising a shed load of money for a different charity. Did it again the following year, and then COVID hit, and that was kind of oh crap, we can't go up Snowdon now. What can we do? We're still going to do the challenge, but how can we do the challenge? So at the time, it was a case of, we can go out for walks, we can within our own area and stuff like that. So what I did, I got on Google and had a look what the pedometer average steps were to climb up Snowdon. And it worked out, I think it was 24,750 steps to do it. So that year, during COVID, we still raised money. And at the time it was for Mind UK, so it was a great charity with the lockdown, with mental wellbeing, and that
so
kind of
important
stuff.
at that time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So people went out in their local areas. I can't remember how many. It was over 50 people that took part in it anyway. And they went around their local area and walked 24,750 steps, the equivalent of climbing Snowdon. So that was that year. And then we did it again. Officially went up Snowdon again as soon as we could do. Again, brilliant. And we've raised nearly £100,000 in terms of over the years that we've done it.
It's incredible.
Didn't do it last year due to circumstances and loads of different things that kind of implicated why we couldn't do it. But then thought, you know what, let's do it. So we're going to go back in 2024, back up Snowdon, and we're going to hopefully raise loads and loads of money, which is going to be great. So,
mate, it's absolutely incredible. So just to clarify a few important parts on this, because anyone who's listening who wants to challenge themselves by climbing Snowdon, raise money for a good cause, and I know that you change for charity year on year, and I mean, having raised across all charities over 100k is incredible. But it doesn't matter if you're from Slimming World or not. You can be from any. Well, you don't necessarily even have to be on a weight loss journey, I guess, at the moment, do you? Is it just if you're part of this community?
If you're part of if you are somebody that sits in the kind of the back room just watching what everybody's doing, quite welcome. If you are a weight watcher, you're quite welcome. If you're a calorie counter, you're quite welcome. If you're somebody that does a podcast, you're quite welcome to come along and do it. All these things, absolutely. But it's just about. I title it up it's incredible people doing incredible things for incredible people. So the incredible people, us, people that have lost loads of weight. We know how difficult it is to lose weight. We're doing an incredible thing by climbing Snowdon, and then the charity itself and all those people that they kind of support. That's just the main kind of reason why we do it. So hopefully we can get loads and loads of people ready for July the 6th, 2024. And then we'll head up Snowdon and hopefully raise loads of money.
I will be there, Steve.
Yes. Fantastic.
And I'm looking forward to it. And I was very happy, actually, when I did see it advertised, and I'd seen previous photos. I think what it was, first of all, someone had posted something saying we should do this again. And I saw how many people had either I'd been in touch with, or people had been on my show, people like yourself, people like Erica. I saw just this community of people doing this for charity, and I was like, wow, I want to be part of that. So I got quite excited when I realized it was happening again on many levels. So yeah, 100%. We have to work out how we're going to do like a live podcast or something from the top of Snowdon.
It'd be amazing.
But more than anything, I mean, not to take away from the main purpose and cause, it's not about my podcast, it's about you guys, and the fact that you're organizing this, Steve, it's just another feather in your cap, mate, about what a bloody good person you are. So fair play to you. And
thank you. That means a lot.
Especially with the year that you've had in some respects, the fact that you're still thinking about other people. So yeah, so that's next July 6th, I believe. Is that right?
July the 6th, that's correct, yeah. And we're doing it for a charity called Family Fund. So Family Fund are a charity that helps underprivileged families that can't afford things, that are struggling themselves, to disabled children, all that kind of stuff, to just help them, get through the difficulties of life. So I said the charity's called Family Fund. Have a look at them, Google them, see what they do. They're just a fantastic, wonderful charity, and the guys there, working side by side with them for the last kind of month or so, trying to put everything into place. They've just been fantastic. So yeah, it's just a lovely, lovely charity to be doing it for.
Excellent. So for anyone who's interested in this, I'll put links to the charity, I'll put links to signing up and everything as part of the show notes. But by all means, follow Steve if you don't already. Ask me if you need links or have questions about this. Steve, what is your Instagram login?
It's account name? It's Steve's Life.
It's Steve's Life. Okay,
yeah.
Obviously links will be there. But I think this is an incredible challenge for next year, and a great way to focus on something and to give you a motivation to push towards something for next year. And, you've got plenty of time to not just lose weight if you don't feel like you're quite there yet, but also to get to a level of fitness that will enable you to do it. And like you said, Steve, it's a challenge because it's a mountain, it's Snowdon, but I think it's within people's reach, especially if you start training now.
And one of the greatest things that I suppose that I've taken from watching people, achieve climbing up Snowdon and bringing people together was the friendships that have been made along the way. It's because these people probably have never spoken to each other on social media, or they've probably watched each other, and stuff like that. But person to person, they've made these friendships and these bonds that they're going to last forever, and it's really lovely to watch. Some of the people that go that are, what, I'm going on my own, I don't know anybody, I'm going to be okay. You know what, you'll be okay, because people just embrace it and just enjoy it, and and because everybody's got the same t-shirt on as well, it looks great, and it's a great community challenge to do good things, so
Amazing. And I think that's a lovely place to leave today's episode, because we've covered a lot. Steve, you're a top bloke, really, and I have to say thank you to you as well, not only for the help you gave me at the beginning, but the fact that you've continued to support the podcast, continue to help me, and just really allowed me to share my crappy dad jokes with you, and message each other over the last year, because honestly, I consider you a friend now, and whether you like it or not, you are. So thank you.
I think we've got
that
same sense of humour where the dad jokes are concerned. So
so we're probably saving our significant others from quite a lot of pain by sharing those jokes with each other some of the time. But
absolutely,
Steve, take care of yourself, buddy, and thank you so much for coming back on Weight Loss Warrior podcast. Take care.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See you later.